You know people worry about you. Fans, maybe your teammates.
Why they worry about me?
Well,
I am
they
a
say
successful black man in America doing incredibly well. What's the worry
They
about
worry
me?
about you.
There are way more people in this world to worry about than me, that's for
Right.
sure.
But we're here now. So,
We're all here. I don't think you should worry about me.
okay.
I'm doing pretty well. If you would have told me when I was 13 years old in Saginaw, Michigan, without a pot to piss in, that you'd be sitting here and somebody would say they're worried about you, I would have probably told them they were out of their mind. I'd be sitting here and they'd be worried about me.
Well, they're worried from themselves too. They want to know.
They don't feed.
They
them
know the
families with
team
this,
needs
so
you.
why are they worried?
Because they know the team needs you.
But they don't feed
and
them.
they don't know if
their
you're going to be
families
here.
doing this. I'm here. I've been here for 13 years now.
If you're going to be here every night.
Been here pretty much every night for 13 years.
Not so.
Very much so.
Then you missed something.
We all have. Look, Kevon Looney played 82 games 2 years in a row, and everybody was celebrating. We all miss games.
No, what I'm talking about, they want to know if you're going to be here, like, mentally.
I'm always here. And suspensions, the guideline of getting suspended is something that's in place because it's a possibility. So
There's nothing changed in that respect.
I don't know what would change. Well, I don't get the question. I think my mindset has helped us do some great things. That's pretty cool. So it's all about how you spin it. I love how you try and spin it, but it ain't my spin to it, player. So yeah, it's good.
At this point, I think we all understand Draymond is going to be Draymond. And to be fair to him, that reporter, the framing of that question, it was purposely done. And I don't think Draymond won that interaction like he felt like he did, because that reporter got exactly the response he wanted from Draymond. And the point was to show how easily you can irritate Draymond. And so he got what he wanted. And I understand Draymond being defensive about what he brings to the table through this run, because despite all the off court and all the other stuff, he doesn't get the credit he deserves because it's not as obvious to the casual basketball fan. So I get that. But at a certain point here, man, you got to be smoother, Draymond. 34, 35 years old, because all you did right there was show every beat writer and reporter in America what button to push when you want a soundbite from Draymond, right? So unsurprising, it's Draymond gonna be Draymond, right? But be a little smoother with this stuff, man. I think you're at an age where you could be. Now, I grabbed the sound bites from yesterday's media day that caught my ear, and I'm going to play the sound bites and then give you my thoughts on it. You got to bear with me here a little bit. I usually don't operate this way through OBS, but let's see if we can make this happen. We'll start here with none other than the chef.
The good news is like I'm coming into this training camp with an open mind of how we're supposed to play. I know there's a warrior mentality and culture of how we do things. There's a system that we ran for a decade plus that has worked. Doesn't necessarily mean that's how this team needs to play. We have to have kind of antennas up on and an openness to accept what this team's strengths are, what our weaknesses are, and kind of lean into those, and that's including our youth, because we need them to play at an extremely high level for us to be the team we want to be. You have championship, aspirations. You probably take 8 of them serious, 12 of them, you're like, maybe, and only one gets to say, yeah, we had championship aspirations. So I think we're in that position where we can be a relevant team early and give ourselves a chance to compete. And then assess where we are, because that's what every team has to go through. We just have the shadow of, to your point, like the expectations that we're supposed to be in that conversation. I want to win, and I know everybody in the locker room wants to do their part to help make it happen. So that's how we're approaching the season.
So I think the positive is hearing it from the horse's mouth, Steph Curry. We got to play a little bit differently. We got to be more dynamic. things have to change a little bit. We've heard Steve Kerr make mention of it, but let's be honest. It's Steph that really matters when it comes to that. His willingness to alter the system in the Steph Curry system. So I think that that's a positive. Something that wasn't in the clip was talking about Paul George, trying to acquire him. And he even brought up Lauri Markkanen and basically letting us know, like, yo, no, I'm in on all this stuff, at least the stuff that's actually tangible and might happen. And he kind of made it sound like, if you read between the lines, like the Lauri thing wasn't even close. It was never even a thing, right? But Paul George was an attempt. And then the word relevant seemed to get Warriors Twitter a little, a little antsy, give them a little anxiety. He said, relatively this and relevant this. I think relevant is a subjective word. And perhaps to some, relevant means like, hey, they're talked about on SportsCenter. They're on social media. To others, maybe, Steph, relevant means we're relevantly in the conversation to contend. Like, we're relevant, so that means when you're talking about the teams that could come out of the West, the Warriors are relevant. That's how I read into it. But make no mistake about it, you can hear his tone and the words he chose. He's not only tempering expectations for the fan base, but tempering expectations, I think, for himself and the team. And it's smart. Why put that pressure on yourselves right now? Right. And, people love the sound bit of, hey, it's championship or bust, all or nothing. That's our mentality. And it makes sense with some teams. But then you also hear some of these young guys, someone on Charlotte talking about, we're trying to win a championship. And it just looks crazy. And so we know Steph is very grounded and, again, tempering expectations. But I thought the biggest part of his interview was him acknowledging we're going to play different. We got to do that. So I thought that was a positive. How about Andrew Wiggins, fresh cut wigs?
Andrew, could you explain what happened with playing versus not playing this summer in the Olympics? Playing?
No, I just had a little tweak. I had tweaked my ankle, and then training camp had started, so it was a little too late.
Did you want to play?
Yeah, for sure. I always love representing my country.
Back 2 years ago, how productive you were on that championship team, and then the past years, what needs to happen to kind of get back to that level for you?
Stay competitive, stay on top of my game.
Stay competitive. I love hearing him say it. I love hearing him acknowledge it, right? But how often do you hear a guy say that, right? When you say, you heard all these guys, my jumper, my reps, staying in shape, right? First things out of his mouth. Stay competitive. He knows that it wanes, right? It's not a strength of his. It's not as consistent as it needs to be. The front of that clip asking about the Olympic team, because remember when it was reported, it was like the Warriors have told Andrew Wiggins, hey, you're not going to play for Canada. And a lot of us were like, well, it makes sense. You're missing all these games for us. You're not going to go play for Team Canada. But in hindsight, when you listen to that clip, it's kind of hard to tell who is covering for who, because you read the body language, the delivery, the cadence, all of that kind of sounds like Wiggins didn't want to play for Canada and perhaps still dealing with his father and that stuff, right? And then it was the Warriors that were like, no, we got you. Because it would look bad, right, from a Canadian perspective, right? For representative, he's like, no, I don't want to play, right? And so perhaps it was the Warriors organization actually kind of covering up for Wiggs, saying, hey, no, we don't want you to play. We came to an agreement. Just reading between the lines a little bit. You see the bar here, my patron. Shout out to all of you that have been supporting me. I've been doing this like 7-8 years now, and I'll look in the camera and tell you straight up, I cover the Warriors better than anybody on the internet. That's how I feel. Again, a subjective thing. But you get every game broken down quarter by quarter, over highlights. You get some insight, some humor. And if you've missed the game, you're going to get complete coverage of how it unfolded. I'm very proud of my work on there. Yeah, I just did Aces Liberty Game 1. There's Niner coverage. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Sign up for the season. Give the first month a try. I'll put the link in the description. Let's move on to some more basketball stuff, less narrative-driven stuff here from the big dogs. I'll start with slow-mo Kyle Anderson.
Brandon mentioned that in scrimmages, he said that your jump shot looks a little bit different.
I just worked a lot around the rim, just getting consistent with that, getting fluidity in that one motion, feeling comfortable with that a lot around the rim. It was super tedious, but like it started to pay off. Then I, got to 15 feet, working on that. With the same mechanics, not losing my mechanics, and then, eventually we were able to work our way out to the three-point line, and then it was just reps and reps and reps, and, just getting comfortable with my shot, really, and then, just putting the work in, really.
That sounds good, man. That sounds good. I don't want to say work because it's much more casual. I don't like train kids anymore like that. But I try to get on the courts every day, just get up jumpers, just hang around. I just like being on the courts, being around basketball. And so I help kids with their jump shot when they ask, sometimes unsolicited, if it looks like they really need some help, right? And you see these kids that have parts in their shot like slow-mo. And I'm trying to help them, okay, let's look at the hand placement, the seaming, let's look at the transfer of energy, starting from your feet, your hips, right? Your extension, where do you want to release it from? And I always start them like 6-7 feet from the basket. And it's like, all right, well, let's get this flow. Let's get this transfer of energy. Let's get this smooth, right? Because usually a smooth shot is a good shot. And the first thing that they'll do like a couple reps, right? And then like if I back off and go back to shooting myself or just whatever, they back out to the three-point line. And what I think people fail to realize is, especially with the hitches in the shot, it's the part of it is when you go out to range, physically as well as psychologically, you're trying to get it there. You don't believe that you're going to get it there, and it fragments the shot. Like it starts usually when you're young, right? When you're a kid and you don't have quite the strength to shoot a actual three, right? So it's like, you got to muscle it out there. And even guys in the NBA, right? You get out to 25 feet, 23 feet, and some of them, it just doesn't look easy, right? And so the mistake that a lot of guys make when they're trying to get a hitch out of their shot or make it smoother is they take it out to range way too soon. And you heard Kyle himself say it's tedious, but if you stay under the hoop, now you can just work on that motion, that smooth motion, and not have to worry about getting it there. And guys aren't patient enough to stay at the rim and work on that. So I loved hearing him say that. I didn't know, I heard a little bit of an East Coast accent from Kyle. I didn't know that. But and you heard him talk about Steph and how different it is to play with Steph on the floor. And just the fact that he brought it up and how he spoke on it, you already know he's picking it up. Right? Our new center, Kyle Anderson. I'll probably drop a full video on him at some point here in the preseason because I've got some other takes on him. Let's go to Moses Moody.
Do you feel like you're a lot closer to sort of taking the step you want to take next?
I do, especially stemming from this summer and the work that I put in. Like most of it was not even just straight work, but a lot of learning things about basketball. Being from Little Rock, there's a lot of good players there, but everybody kind of figuring it out. So just being able to be around some people that can actually teach me about basketball has been really good for me.
Any example?
Really just like the basic mechanics of starting and stopping, like knowing how to take off in the most efficient way, knowing how to stop the efficient way, change directions, make decisions.
Speaking of my patrons know I've been on this and I've highlighted it in the breakdowns, and that's part of the breakdowns is the mechanics, the technique, all this stuff. I've been on this for about 2 years where it was like Moody, because remember when we got him, it was like, 3 and D, right? 3 and D, and then the defense wasn't there. And it was like, he doesn't move laterally as well as we would have hoped for, right? So I'm breaking down the tape in these breakdowns, and I realize he's taking a lot of false steps. I've made videos about this, right? Where let's say he wants to slide left, he'll jolt his body right to gain the momentum to go that way. Instead of just moving left, he'll load up to the right and then move that way. And in the NBA, a game of seconds, that's too late, right? And so I'm not going to say I can't believe, but I was very pleased to hear him talking about how to move his body efficiently and take those. If he can remove the false steps defensively, as well as, and we've seen him do this already, kind of learn how to distance manage that 7-foot wingspan where he doesn't have to crowd necessarily. I think Moses Moody can be exactly who we hoped he would be drafting him in the lottery. And now he's going to have this opportunity here, hopefully, fingers crossed, with this void that Clay has left, right? So 2, I think, really good basketball on the court things that I heard from Slow-Mo and Moody in these. Kuminga didn't give us a whole lot, and I had just spoken about Kuminga, right? And there was, it let me know in the comments if there was something, because I listened to all of them, but these were the main things that caught my ear. If there was something else you wanted my take on through Media Day, leave it in the comments and I'll try to get back to you, maybe even cut another video. Let's listen to Pods.
You talked about shooting more threes. How's that coming along? How have you sort of learned, not so much making them, but how to get them? And sort of separately from that, what did you learn? What did you pick up from the USA experience, Team USA experience?
Yeah, I think the first part of your question, watching back all the opportunities I didn't shoot last year, which were 2 to 3 a game, I think. Just watching what kind of threes Clay and Steph get up, more so Steph. So just kind of watching that, understanding that, making a three, impacts the game at such a high level that, if teams have to run me off the three-point line, now I become a playmaker, which I'm just kind of naturally good at. And so knowing that the three-point line is such a, weapon in today's game, I knew that it was something that I needed to really focus on in the offseason, and that's what, Steve and Mike said. So the USA stuff was great. I think being able to play against the gold medal team and play against their guys for 3 days was an amazing experience for me and Trace. I know that. Definitely a confidence booster for sure. Just feeling like, you belong out there and you can compete with, anybody you step in between the 4 lines with.
Pods talks like a quarterback, right? Pods talks like a quarterback, man, right? You listen to some of these other kids in there, the younger NBA players, Scoot Henderson, the Jailblazers are back. I'm gonna leave that alone for another time, but you just, he's an impressive young man in how he speaks. And, here's the thing, there's layers and levels to 3-point shooting, as we know. And when you become an aggressive 3-point shooter, a guy that takes them aggressively, it lets you get downhill. It opens up the rest of your game. And now you got to be efficient enough to be that aggressive, right? But there is a big difference when you're guarding someone who is like, they'll take open, clean ones. They need a clean platform or a lot of space to take it, as opposed to a guy that's like hunting a three. He's going to like get into your body, step back and take it, or, the window is smaller that they'll take it. It puts more pressure on you as a defender. Now you have to get up on them, and then they can get downhill, turn the corner, right? And I think that to hear Pods understand that, and just him soaking in all the game he can, and kind of it was a smooth move by Kerr getting Trace and Pods on that Team USA, right? So they could soak up game and just put them in that paradigm, right? That can be what for them moving forward, right? But I'm just impressed with Pods every time he talks. And then also talking about being a natural leader, he said it in the key word I thought he said was in a positive light. Communicating and talking to guys in a positive light. And I do think that he has to stay aware that he still is, considered a young fella on the roster and in the league. And so just understand that as he leads. But that's part of growing into being a leader, is understanding that. But yeah, man. Again, if I missed something that you wanted me to cover, those were the things that caught my ear. Through that, obviously Looney shooting the threes. I'm excited. I'm excited for training camp and this battle for perhaps that 14th spot. Gee, Knox, and who else we got in there? Lindy Waters, right? Those are the 3 that are fighting for that 14th roster spot. She's got a jumper, man. in talking about the Quentin post, here I am bringing it back up again. Quentin wasn't there. I didn't see a Quentin interview. Maybe I missed that one. But back to this Daquan Plowden thing real quick, because it's been, I've had some people push back on me and they're like, well, they needed, Beekman is a true point guard, as Mike Dunleavy said. And they just, to me, part of it was it represented that the Warriors always choose the ball handler, smaller guard over the wing. And they did it again, it feels like, with Beekman and Plowden. Now, Plowden and Beekman. Now, hopefully Beekman shows out. And again, there's a lot of interesting things going to be battling for in this preseason, but it just represented, like, here we go again. Because to me, I don't know, how many ball handlers do we need? Steph, Pods, I think Moody is more than capable. Melton, Kyle Anderson, Draymond can all run. I don't know, man. I don't know. But again, hopefully they know better than I. I want to leave you with one other soundbite from across the league. Young Anthony Edwards. This is spooky, man. This is spooky.
And you talk about being the best ever. You play with some guys this summer who are in that conversation. How will you get there?
Just working. I feel like that's the only way, man. Everybody talk about it. I mean, the only way it is just work and go out on the court and just believe it. I think a lot of guys got a chance to be really great at this game, but I think they just don't believe it. Some guys put the work in, don't believe it. Some guys believe it and don't put the work in. So I believe it and I put the work in. So if it don't happen, it don't. If it do, it does, which probably will happen.
That's spooky, man. Like, I'm excited for Ant's career moving forward, but I'm also a little nervous considering, he's in the Western Conference, but some people believe and don't put in the work. Some people work and don't believe. I do both. It's a good philosophy to live by in any walk of life. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.